The heads of state and government of the Southern African Development Community (SADC) have reaffirmed their solidarity with the people of Western Sahara in their fight for self-determination. And as Amnesty International affirmed that the Israeli occupying authorities are deliberately waging a campaign of famine in the Gaza Strip, several Palestinians were killed in airstrikes targeting today the town of Gaza. Hello and welcome on Radio Algeria International. I'm Miriam Bershi, and joining me today my colleague Mas'ud Sharfi. Hi Mas'ud.
Hello Miriam.
Interim Minister Brahim Marred has paid a visit to the municipalities of Ruiba here in Algiers to offer condolences to the families of 4 other victims of the accidents of the passenger bus that crashed into Wed El Harrash here in Algiers. Mr. Brahim Marred, accompanied by the Governor of Algiers, Mr. Abdel Rabhi, visited the 2 municipalities where he expressed his deep compassion and sympathy to the families. The minister conveyed the condolences and compassion of the President of the Republic to the families of the victims, expressing his deep sorrow and sympathy in this ordeal. The National Agency for Development of Hydrocarbon Resources, Al-Naft, and the American Occidental Petroleum Company, Oxy, have signed 2 agreements here in Algiers to carry out 2 studies assessing the hydrocarbon potential of 2 areas. Al-Naft said in a statement that the areas in question are El Ubaid and Dahar, located in Wed Mia. These agreements, which are part of the strengthening of cooperation between Al-Naft and Occidental Petroleum, aim to identify new investment opportunities in hydrocarbon exploration and development. Occidental Petroleum, headquartered in the United States, is an international energy company with a diversified global asset portfolio. In Algeria, Occidental Petroleum has been operating in several large-scale projects. The 2 study agreements signed between Al-Naft and Occidental Petroleum shows the 2 sides' commitment to collaborate to further assess and develop the national hydrocarbon mining sector. The Secretary of State to the State Minister of Foreign Affairs in charge of African Affairs, Salma Bakhta Mansouri, has reiterated Algeria's commitment to supporting the path of the Southern African Development Community, SADC, in strengthening regional integration and economic transformation in Africa. Over to you, Mas'ud.
In a speech made at Madagascar's embassy in Algiers on the occasion of the 45th anniversary of the setting up of the community, the Secretary of State said that SADC has today become a model of regional integration, with projects that boost value chains, strengthen Africa's global role, and support sustainable growth guided by the AU's Agenda 2063.
Today, SADC stands as a model of regional integration, with ambitious cross-border projects in infrastructures, energy, transport, and industrialization. These initiatives strengthen regional value chains and expand Africa's place in global markets, fostering sustainable growth and economic resilience. The emphasis on competitiveness, diversification, and innovation is particularly timely as our continent strives to reposition itself in an ever-changing global economy. In this context, the African Union Agenda 2063, the blueprint of a united, prosperous, and peaceful Africa, remains our common guide.
On the occasion, she highlighted the African Continental Free Trade area as a key driver of transformation and noted that Algeria will host the Intra-African Trade Fair in September, a key platform where SADC's active participation will be essential.
The African Continental Free Trade Area, as eloquently mentioned by Excellency Ambassador of Zimbabwe, stands out as a flagship driver of continental transformation. By opening markets, stimulating industrialization, and expanding intra-African trade, the AFCFTA embodies the very spirit of integration that SADC has long championed. Algeria will be hosting the Intra-African Trade Fair from 4th to the 10th of September, which will provide an unparalleled platform for African businesses, innovators, youth and women entrepreneurs to showcase opportunities, deepen partnership, and accelerate progress toward a truly integrated continental market. The active participation of SADC member states will be vital to the success of this landmark event.
At the end of her speech, Ms. Mansouri praised Zimbabwe's leadership of SADC and reaffirmed Algeria's commitment to regional integration and Africa's economic transformation. In a message read on behalf of SADC, Zimbabwe's ambassador to Algeria, Fusimusi Tonga, said that this year's theme highlights SADC's resolve to build a competitive, integrated economic powerhouse through industrialization, energy transition, and agricultural transformation, stressing Algeria's role as a key partner in these efforts.
This year's celebrations are held under the theme Advancing Industrialization, Agricultural Transformation and Energy Transition for a Resilient SADC, which underscored our determination to transform Southern Africa into a competitive and integrated economic powerhouse through trade, investment promotion, peace and stability. We have no doubt that Algeria will be an important partner in our region's efforts towards modernization and industrialization of our economies in key sectors of energy, technology and innovation, human capital development and agricultural transformation.
For her part, the chargée d'affaires at the Embassy of Madagascar in Algiers, Jenny Rafarmilana, whose country chairs SADC this year, stressed the importance of solidarity and shared responsibility in advancing industrialization, energy transition, and turning Southern Africa into a competitive, integrated power. Meanwhile, the heads of states and government of the Southern Africa Development Community SADC have reaffirmed during their 45th Ordinary Summit in Antananarivo, Madagascar, their solidarity with the people of Western Sahara in their just struggle for the right to self-determination. In their final communiqué, the African leaders hailed the signing of a memorandum of understanding between SADC and the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic, SADR. It reaffirmed the complementarity of the UN-led process on Western Sahara's self-determination and its adaptability to the SADR-SADC Memorandum and African Union initiatives. SADC also reiterated support for the Sahrawi people's right to self-determination and urged the UN Security Council to add a human rights monitoring mechanism to the United Nations mission for the referendum in Western Sahara's mandate. Back to you, Miriam.
The Minister of Internal Trade and National Market Regulation, Tayyip Zitouni, has chaired a coordination meeting with the ministry's officials devoted to the preparation for the 4th edition of the Intra-African Trade Fair, scheduled to take place from the 4th to the 10th of September here in Algiers. During the meeting, which focused on monitoring the progress achieved so far, the minister stressed the importance of continuing to work closely with the Commissioner of the Intra-African Trade Fair, Ambassador Harbi Latrish, as well as with his collaborators, Ambassadors Abdelkarim Beha and Mashoud Mahila, to ensure a successful organization that meets the aspirations of Algeria and its African and international guests. Mr. Zitouni urged for more efforts to be made and strengthen on the ground monitoring of the preparatory committees, notably regarding the layout of the spaces booked for exhibitors, logistical services, and facilitating the participation of national economic operators in the continental event. And as Amnesty International affirmed that the Israeli occupying authorities are deliberately waging a campaign of famine in the Gaza Strip, several Palestinians were killed in airstrikes targeting today the town of Gaza. According to the news agency Wafa, at least 13 others were wounded in the strikes that hit a displaced refugee camp in Gaza as well as in the southern part of the territory. The humanitarian crisis in the Gaza Strip has exacerbated over the past few months on account of lacks of food and medical care caused by the blockade imposed since March by the Israeli occupying authorities on the enclave. In this connection, Amnesty International affirmed that the Israeli occupying authorities were waging a deliberate famine campaign that systematically destroyed the well-being and the social fabric in Gaza. In a communiqué released today, the non-governmental organization quoted testimonies affirming that the fatal combination of famine and disease was not a sad consequence of the Israeli operations in Gaza. It went on to say that it is rather the intentional result of the plans and policies Israeli occupying authorities have worked out and implemented over the past 22 months in Gaza. These are mainly aimed at deliberately inflicting calculated living conditions to the Palestinians to cause their physical destruction, which it emphasized is part of a parcel of genocide currently carried out against the Palestinians. And US President Donald Trump told Ukraine to give up hopes of getting back annexed Crimea or joining NATO as he prepared to host President Volodymyr Zelensky and European leaders in Washington to press Kyiv into accepting a peace deal with Russia. And 2 firefighters have been killed in Spain and Portugal as wildfires ravaged the Iberian Peninsula during a sweltering heatwave, as Sabacard reports.
Spain is in the grips of a third week of heatwave alerts, with the emergency services backed by specialist army units battling fires in the northwest and west of the country. According to data from the European Forest Fire Information System, the wildfires have burned the equivalent of nearly 500,000 football fields this year, setting a new record. The 2025 fires have so far burned more than 343,000 hectares, surpassing the previous record for the period of 306,000 hectares set in 2022. Portugal has also been trying to put out fires across the country, and both nations have appealed to the European Union for assistance. The regional government in Castilla and Leon, northwestern Spain, wrote on X that one firefighter was killed when his truck flipped over on a steep forest road. Spanish defense minister said that this is a fire situation that they haven't experienced in 20 years. The fires have special characteristics as a result of climate change and this huge heat wave. He said things are not likely to improve until the heat wave that has seen temperatures hit 45 degrees Celsius starts easing on Monday evening or Tuesday.
And that's it for today's news bulletin. Stay tuned on Radio Algeria International.
Hello, dear listeners, and welcome on our waves. We are honored to have in our studio for the second time a university professor, researcher, and translator, Rashida Sadouni. Hello, Rashida.
Hello, Asia. Good morning to everyone who is listening to us.